Hey, everybody. Thanks for checking out my broadcast today. My name is Jonathan, and today is day 447 of my 3-year challenge to lose 300 pounds. If this is your first time checking out my broadcast, a little bit about me and the channel. I'm 39 years old. I'm married, and we have 4 children together. In 2020, I found myself heavier than I had ever been after decades of yo-yo dieting. I was over 500 pounds and I knew I needed to do something about my health and my wellness. And so I created this challenge, and the challenge, I had a couple main goals in mind. And the biggest goals were that I knew that I needed to challenge myself to do something longer than I'd ever challenged myself before. A lot of times in the past, I would do a diet for a few weeks or even a couple months. Sometimes I would be doing it for a weight goal, or I would have an event coming up, and either the event would happen or I would reach that weight goal I would have. Um, but I never figured out how to maintain any type of weight loss. I would eat a very low calorie restrictive diet in order to lose the weight. And then once I got to that goal, I went back to my old habits. So I challenged myself to do this for 3 years. That way I would give myself the time to not only lose the weight, but also find out a way to maintain that weight loss and to live a healthy life. The other big part of this challenge is I do have a lot of weight to lose. And in the past, when I've done those challenges to lose 50 pounds or to lose 100 pounds, it's been great. And I generally am able to reach my goals. But at the end of that weight loss, I look at myself and I would still be over 300 pounds a lot of the time, or still 290 pounds. I never really got to what I would consider a healthy weight. So that's why I challenged myself to lose 300 pounds this time. And everything has been going awesome so far. We're like 15 months in, and I've been able to lose about 200 pounds. So I have another 21 months to go to lose that last 100 pounds and to maintain that weight loss. I started this with a water fast that I was able to lose 90 pounds during that water fast. And then I've switched over to a whole food, plant based, SOS free, which means no added salt, oil, or sugar to our recipes. And I've lost the additional 110 pounds that way. And we're going to get started here. Hey guys, if anybody has any non-scale victories they'd like to share, I'd love to hear your guys' non-scale victories. If you have any scale victories, any questions, comments, please let me know. I should have done it with this banner here. I'm going to come back. Hey, tricked you. Make sure you subscribe, like, share, comment, do all those YouTube things. And we're back. All right. So, uh, since yesterday, I hope all you guys had a great evening. I hope you had success with your diets. You were able to maintain your diets and you're happy with everything. Um, I guess I'll get into that. Well, I guess, yeah, I'll get into that part of it. I did eat last night. I've been talking the last couple days that I wasn't feeling quite like I wanted to be feeling, and a little bit of issues with digestion. And so I decided, why not just quit digesting food and started water fasting. I water fasted. I ended up having the live stream. I went right from the live stream to a meeting I had. So I didn't get home until after 8 p.m. But as soon as I walked in the door, I knew I was going to eat. Like, I hadn't thought about it all the way up until coming in. And then as soon as I walked in the door, I was like, I'm going to go eat. I mean, it's a house full of food. There's no reason for me to continue to fast. I guess in my mind, I was already planning on fasting or ending the fast before Monday, anyways. And I didn't want to get too into the fast and start getting into those real kind of heavy fasting digestive issues that you start to have after a few days. Um, of course, today I am having those digestive things that you have after you haven't fasted for 3 days. So I don't think my body has picked up on the fact that we started eating yet. It is a little bit satisfying to be getting rid of some of that waste as well. I don't know how the digestion tract works exactly, but I know that right now the volume is way down. And just like when you're deep into a fast, I'm not really trusting a fart right now, as pleasant as that is to think about. Um, but I did eat a ton last night. I had a bowl of oatmeal last night and I had another bowl of oatmeal this morning. So my body is working on its oat processing. That is for sure. Um, let's see what I had for a non-scale victory. And I don't believe I did this yesterday, but it was maybe the day before. I had been pretty sad actually a week or so ago, because there might have been more than a week ago, but um I've lost a lot of weight, and I had that bicep tendon surgery 6 months ago that I'm recovering from. And a month or so back, or kind of shortly after maybe I was released from the doctor, because that kind of is a month or so back, I tried to do a push up and I got nowhere. Um, that arm didn't have the strength, and I don't know that you use your bicep to do a push up that much, but also I just didn't have the body strength to do a single push up. And that wasn't anything that would be real surprising to me at 520 pounds, but after losing 200 pounds, I was hoping that I would have a little bit more success with a push up than I did. Um, and then I haven't really been going to the gym that much. We actually need to renew our membership very soon, because we only signed up for 2 months when we initially signed up. But I also have not gone to the gym since like Thanksgiving. It's been a long time. Or I guess I'm sorry, we signed up after Thanksgiving. I haven't been to the gym since Christmas. So I will have to figure out what I'm gonna do about that, or what we're gonna do about that, because it's actually been interesting. The times that we've mentioned the gym, our two oldest kids have our two oldest kids have really seemed interested in checking out the gym. And I'm not sure what we would do if we took them. I mean, the oldest is only 10 years old, so um, there's really not much to do at the gym that we couldn't maybe do at home, like having them do push-ups and things like that. Um, but yeah, I did a push-up. That is my non-scale victory. Uh, it's also something that, with my uh history growing up, I did a lot of push-ups. And to not be able to do a push-up is pretty disheartening someday. It has been. Uh and so it was nice I just decided to do it. I don't know that I could get down on the ground and do a push-up right now, but I did one the other day. So that was my non-scale victory. So have fun with that. Um all right. Anything else new here for me was this morning, going out to my car, getting ready to leave to go to work. It's pretty icy out, and I fell flat. Not flat. I didn't fall flat. I fell squarely on my hip. My feet just came out right from underneath me, and I had no chance to really even catch myself. and I landed on my left hip. I believe I talked about this before, but it was very similar to me falling on my ass roller skating with the kids a little while back, only that was my right hip. Um, I believe that the same thing holds true as did at that point. I realized that not having that additional cushion from the body weight uh, did affect the impact of my bones on the ground. Like my hip bone, I could feel like actually hit something hard. Where in the past, I don't think I would have really felt that much of an impact. And I believe I talked about it at the roller ski when I talked about it the last time I fell, but I do remember from one of the books I read, I'm sure I don't know which book. If I had to guess, it would be a Dr. Greger book because it's a statistic, or it had to do with a study in some manner. But that people that are overweight tend to have fewer bone fractures from things like falling would be kind of the biggest case because they have more cushion to protect them from falling. I also think maybe they wouldn't necessarily put themselves in that situation to fall, which is the other thing I was going to talk about with this is that I have kind of felt like a kid whose shoes or feet are too big for them, you know, like as they're growing up, but only in the opposite direction. I used to have to be very conscious of where I stepped and take things more, be slower and more deliberate about where I walked, especially this time of year when there's so much snow on the ground and there's so many opportunities to fall. And I really noticed it the past couple days as it got icier here, but going from where I park my truck to the front door, there's a slight hill, it's icy, and there's a patch of grass that has snow on it. And I noticed that I actually walking fairly slowly down the hill. And I almost feel like I'm walking like I would have walked down the hill 2 years ago, I guess now, at kind of my heaviest weight, like taking my time, making sure I don't misstep. Um, and then this morning I didn't obviously take my time and I misstepped and I fell on my ass. But I really feel like I haven't figured out this body yet, you know, and it's not, I mean, it's not like the body dysmorphia, but it's similar to that in that I just don't realize the things that my body's capable of, the squeezing between two things, whether or not I can fit or not, I assume I can't all the time. Um, Being comfortable in chairs that have arms in them. I don't ever assume that I'm going to be comfortable in a chair with an arm on it, and I am, you know. So those are just some things that I am uh kind of noticing, and it's good. And really, like, I notice, like, yeah, just anyways. Let's see. Another thing, I was working on creating some more content for this channel. And I was going to ask you guys if there's anything that you are interested in seeing, any stories or history of mine that I could share. And then also, I have been reading a lot of books and I have been educating myself a ton with these plant-based diet books, and I was thinking about maybe trying to do like a book report on these books, or like a cliff notes breakdown maybe on some of the information that's in some of these books. I know that it can be time consuming for people to read these books, or if people are reading these books, maybe some of the stuff is hard to understand. The current book that I'm reading, The Future of Nutrition. I love the book. Highly recommend the book. It's probably one of the top 3 books that I would definitely recommend at this point, and I haven't even finished it yet. But it is written by a guy who was a college professor his whole career and a research a researcher, or he looked, yeah. And so it is a lot to process sometimes. And there's a lot of usage of some large words, and also, like, what I thought would be neat with a book like The Future of Nutrition is to also kind of uh add in, like, where, like, the parts from the book Whole, which is also a book that Colin Campbell wrote, kind of mesh in, or doing a report on a book like The Pleasure Trap, which is a book I've read 3 times, or I've listened to 3 times in the past year. Um, but I don't know if that's anything that anybody would be interested in. If anybody is reading any of these books, um, I don't know what I just did here. If anybody's reading any of those books and they want a further breakdown of them, um, and just if that's something that you're interested in, I'd love to hear from you guys if that is something that you'd like to see. But I'm also going to work on some other videos about how my diet's been and things like that. Um, and let me see. I kind of just talked about the book a second ago, but I'm gonna go back to it, I guess, because I'm really liking The Future of Nutrition. The book is, I think, like an 11-hour book, and I'm 8 hours in, or I have just over 2 hours left to listen to the book. I had an opportunity to listen to a good chunk of it last night on my trip, or to my meeting and back, and then to work. Um, it's There's so much going on in the book. There's so much information, that I could go on and on about all the things that I love about this book. And but I would say the best thing to do would be to pick it up and check it out. But this morning it was kind of rough. Um, I caught myself rewinding it a lot because I was very interested in what he was talking about. But I was my mind was wandering a lot too, because um the information that he talks about specifically in the chapter, the third part of the book, he talks about the difference between looking at reductionist research and looking at these double blind studies, and then looking at correlation data, and that our current system doesn't really favor correlation data. And if you can't show causation, then people aren't very interested in it. They want to know the exact reason, the exact molecule, the exact minute detail that caused that issue. And he advocates for more holistic, or looking at things in a broad picture. And so he is willing to look at correlation studies, whereas many academics wouldn't look at these studies. And one of the things that he does in this book is he has some graphs that he introduces that break down the correlation between breast cancer incidence and and animal protein in the diet. And there's all kinds of stuff. I'm actually going to look at this real quick, because I should have had this up already, and it might, but um so some of the graphs that he talks about is, it's country data. So it's data that came out of these countries as a whole, like countries like Venezuela and Spain and the United States, United Kingdom and Zealand and France. And he's showing in these studies that they have done that there's a direct correlation between breast cancer mortality animal protein intake. And it's almost a crazy, like, straight line when you average the data out. The other one, breast cancer incidence and meat consumption, exactly the same. Uterine cancer incidence, per capita daily total fat consumption in grams, and the fat when they see a higher increase in fat consumption, you can assume that that fat is dietary fat, or he's assuming that that fat is dietary fat from animal products because there's not a lot of fat in non-animal products. And again, these correlations are almost, I mean, he draws a perfect straight line from almost zero to uh, show that in places where they don't consume meat, they have almost no instance of these diseases. And it's not anything that's ever been told to me before. Like the, I mean, in looking at these graphs, um, he says multiple times in this book that the points were put on that graph exactly as the data was received. And it really makes it hard not to correlate animal meat or animal product consumption and these issues of cancer, and that's a big part of the whole book whole is talking about how they literally could turn off cancer by whether or not people were eating animal products. And nobody's talking about this. Nobody's this isn't common knowledge. This isn't the normal that, hey, we like, um, but I guess what I was having the biggest struggle was with is thinking about all the people in my life that aren't eating this way. And I just wish they could listen to all the stuff I've listened to in the past year, and you know, it takes 7.5 hours of listening to get into this part of this book, like what kind of attention spans do people have? They don't have that kind of time. Everybody in the world's not going to take the 11 hours it takes to listen to this book. But the people that have listened to this book need to be out there screaming it from the rooftops, I feel like, and um that's really the frustrating part about listening to this book is that um there's really no agenda with this guy. Like there's I don't know any product other than this book or the books that he's written that this doctor's trying to sell. It's not like there, there's not a buy this diet plan or these nutrition pills or this program or these protein powders. It's just look at what this dad has been telling us for years. And I think he's the doctor that wrote this is 80 plus years, 84 years old, so he's been fighting this system since the 80s, and we still don't know these things. There was studies that were done in the early 80s that if that information would have been public knowledge or taken as um yeah, we'd be we'd be much better off, I guess, is if we we followed the advice of some of the people that the country hasn't been following advice from. Like, so anyways, I really like the book. I'm trying to find ways to, you know, get more people to check it out or to look into this lifestyle. I mean, he talks the whole food plant-based diet is the whole basis of this book. And so um it's really something that I'm looking forward to getting through the next 2 hours. I don't know that I'll be done by Monday, but I should be pretty close. By mid next week, I should be done with the book. So I'm excited to finish it up and And also one of the reasons, going way back to what I was talking about with doing like the book reports, is that I feel like I don't retain half of the information that's being said in the book. Like I go back and repeat it and I go back and rewind it and I try to like repeat what they're saying in my head so it sticks a little bit more. And there's so much going on that it's tough to even retain it all. So that was another part of the reason of doing something like a book report or of thing. Um, Gosh, are you guys ready for the weekend? I know I'm ready for the weekend here. We don't think have big plans. I hope we don't have big plans. I wasn't making any big plans, but um the next weekend, not this weekend, but the following weekend, we do have big plans, and we're gonna have to figure out what we're gonna do about food because we're gonna be away from home for the entire weekend. Um, and so we'll have to decide what we're gonna do about food next weekend. But this weekend, I think that things are fairly normal. Um, but I could be wrong because I usually am. So lots of sleepovers. That's the one thing I was thinking about that I wasn't sure if that was happening. I knew we were having visitors. I didn't know if we were having sleepovers, but figured that's hand in hand, I guess, at this point, right? Anyways, um, I'm gonna get out of here, guys. I hope you all have a great weekend. I hope you had a great week. I mean, it's been a good week for me. I did get on the scale. I've kind of done what I wanted to do with that fast as far as kind of get back to a better weight. If I can get through this weekend without gaining a ton of weight, then um, we should be all good for next week's weigh in. It'll be a good weigh in overall. But after not eating for a few days, that's not a surprise. Anyways, I'm going to get out of here, guys. I hope that probably say I hope you have a good weekend again. That's probably the third time I've said it. But um subscribe to my channel, like it, comment, do all those things. And get started on your diet right now, guys. There's no reason to wait. There's no event coming up. There's nothing that's more important than actually taking care of your health and well-being. Um and go all in. Don't the don't Be willing to go all in, because that's where you're going to have some success, is when you are completely committed to a diet or to a program. It's not going to work if you're going to just kind of dip your toe in and then bring it back out and eat your old way. You need to get started right now. You need to commit completely, and you'll see the success, because everybody who ever gets to their goal always looks back and says they wish they would have started sooner. And a lot of times they say it was so much easier than they ever thought it was. And so don't be scared starting because you think it's going to be hard. Once you're doing it, it's worth it. I promise. It's worth it. You guys all have a great weekend again for the fourth time. And I will see you on Monday. Monday.